Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of MovieCast. I am your host, Dana Abercrombie, and this time I am joined by the wonderful Mr. Chris Seeley. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm happy to talk about I'll call it a cold mess because vampires aren't hot-blooded.
It's a blue blood mess.
Yeah, blue blood.
Sorry. Yes, so we are here to talk about the greatest movie that has ever been made, and that, of course, is Morbius. And we will dive into all of the spoilers and all of the goodness, including that wonderful, very well comprehensive and accurately put together after credit scene that definitely helped the other movies explain that multiverse and how it works. So, right off the bat, I wanted to know from you, Chris, what are your overall thoughts with this movie?
Uh, my thoughts was that this this movie spent too long in the can, and too many executives thought about it for too long, and it should have been released a long time ago. And I really think that with the direction that other things that happen around it, especially with the Spider-Man movies, and where Sony wants to go with the Spider-Verse,
Mhm.
has kind of ruined this movie. Maybe they had an okay product at the beginning, but it's very obvious after watching this movie that it has been butchered from
Mm.
what it was, and it's just like a mess. It's not. It probably wasn't very good to begin with, and now it's worse. And,
Ugh.
and that's what I thought. I was just sitting there. I'm like, uh, disjointed scenes. I felt like I was as I was
Mm.
watching it. I'm like, why did you start here, and then have this flashback, and now where are we? And it's like, are we in New York now? Oh, okay. They told us we're in New York,
Mm.
but like now it looks like we're in Prague, and now we're back in New York. And it's like, what's going on? Also, I gotta say something. Matt Smith's character was freaking
So you
weird.
wasn't feeling the yeah, yeah.
I like Matt Smith plenty. I watched
Really?
Doctor
Why?
Who when he was in
What?
it. I, I no no. I mean, I
Mhm.
like him as an actor. Like when he did Doctor Who, it was kooky and whatever,
Right.
and I thought that fit him well, right? And I feel like somebody told him
Mhm.
in here, it's like, hey, we like Doctor Who. Can you do that at 11? Like when you get your vampire powers, can you just be like Doctor Who, but like having snorted a pound of cocaine? Can you do that? And that's what he did. He went like full bore, like cuckoo crazy. And I was like, what happened? Because that wasn't his character at the beginning of the movie. I mean, you actually felt bad for him, and it's like, I'm
Mhm.
evil now because I'm a vampire. It's like, wait, you're not really a vampire. This is you're have this genetic thing that he invented. It's oh god, I'm trying to like formulate my thoughts because that was like my problem is like, okay, so we're following Morbius through his transition, he has a degenerative disease, and
Mhm.
he's really brilliant, and he invents artificial blood that changes the world. And um then he wants to cure his condition. I'm not sure like what it is. It's like seems like ALS but worse. And it's like, okay, I'm going to use vampire bats to do it. They don't explain though how he came to that conclusion, except it's like, oh, bats have something in their digestion, so they the blood doesn't coagulate. And I'm like, okay, so do you have like thin blood? Is that why you're dying? I don't understand
That's
how
right.
that relates to what okay, but they had to establish some kind of medical science mumbo jumbo that he needed bat DNA in his DNA. Okay, so fine. And they do the thing, and he becomes, Morbius the vampire, but he's not quite Morbius the vampire, except on the ship. That scene was wild. And then, but I was like, you don't start there and then go back to him having a training montage where he figures out his powers, because it's like on the ship he was devastating all those guys with all the powers, and then he
Mhm.
goes back to his lab and he's like, I have to figure out what I can do. It's like, but you did it. You literally did it like 5 minutes ago on the boat. Like you did all the crazy things. Like you were bamfing in and out. Like somehow bat DNA lets you like have trails of smoke and disappear and fly and all the crazy shit he was doing. Okay, well,
Yep.
what were your thoughts? What were your thoughts?
Well, here's the thing. I was very happy to see it
Mhm.
because I didn't think it was going to be that bad because you had Jared Leto and you pretty much had Marvel hold their hand throughout the previous, we had this A goes with B and B and C all throughout the whole final phases of the Marvel verse, especially in terms of with Tom Holland. And remember, initially it was marketed as Tom Holland's Peter Parker was going to be in here along with the rest of the Sinister Six characters. We
Yeah,
saw that image very specifically of, Tom Holland and the whole thing was going on with Murderer. And so that's what initially pulled me in. And for me, Jared Leto is always a really great actor who's just given bad scripts. But I
yeah.
thought that, yeah,
I had
I,
no problem with his acting. As a matter of fact, the love interest, I had a little
hmm
problem because I didn't feel like her role was very strong. I didn't feel
no.
like they utilized her enough. She was kind of just there to help him,
hmm
but yet she was love interest. But yeah, his acting was strong. And then you have what's his name? I never remember the British dude. Yes. Is
Had
it
him.
Bryce something? Uh
It is. Oh God, what is his name? Oh my God, it doesn't even. Oh dear, it doesn't even say.
I didn't even catch his character's name. I was just like, "Hey, I know that guy."
It's the dude from the dude. He's in
Yeah,
that thing with the movie.
I remember him from like Mad Men and a couple other
Yeah,
movies.
that is so sad.
I just call him the father figure. He was like the reserved father figure of the
Here you go.
movie.
Yeah, he's the dad of the movie. I liked his character. I thought his character was very good, except for when he got to his death part. I'm like, that's corny and predictable.
It was corny, and I had a huge problem with that. That's what I was complaining about with Matt Smith's character. Matt Smith's character's immediate turn to like, "I'm evil now." Like, what? What? You
Yeah.
the whole buildup was like, hey, I don't want to die. It's not fair that I have this genetic disease. I just want to live like a person. I don't want to walk with crutches or be you know c- uh like taken care of like an invalid. Like that was the whole thing with him.
hmm
And then he of course he steals the serum like while Morbius is telling him, no, it's a curse. I done something awful. And he's like, fuck that. He takes the serum, right? Which, by the way, they showed the whole scene on the ship. The serum had to be administered by another doctor in his spine, right? How
hmm
did Matt Smith take it by himself? But he just
And
drink
he's
it?
handicapped on top of that. Remember,
Yes,
he can't even walk properly
he
because of
can't
his.
walk properly, but somehow he shot that shit right where it needed to be, and got vampire powers. Like, and and then he kills that poor nurse in the horror hallway. By the way, the most contrived building I've ever seen. What building has motion sensors every 10 feet that just
I,
turns on one light where you are and no
I've been
other
in
lights?
many hospitals and I've never seen that. Maybe it was a psychiatric ward. I don't understand. It was weird.
Yeah, but it wasn't a hospital. It was Horizon Labs, whatever that's supposed to
Yeah.
be. Was it? So it's a professional build. Yes, they can obviously with the money they're throwing at Morbius to be able to go to Costa Rica and
hmm
harvest bats and do all this crazy research. They can afford to keep the lights on. So I don't understand that whole hallway was like, I'm like, this is the most contrived thing ever. They didn't make it so like, wouldn't it have been nice to see him like bamfing around and fucking with the lights, like destroying them? And
hmm
so it's like Freddy Krueger walking down the hallway, and that's why she freaks out. Maybe she runs towards the light, but darkness is catching up to her. That would have been
Yeah.
better than that shit. I'm like, what the hell is up with this hallway? It doesn't make any sense.
It was awful on multiple levels, and it's like the more you talk about it, like yeah, this that basic levels of suckness, like from the ground up.
Yeah.
But the whole thing with Matt Smith and his character, and they started doing damage control like a week before the movie was released, where they spoiled the whole ending on Twitter and through interviews. And Matt Smith was saying there were scenes that they cut out and his actions look like they don't make any sense from when we first met him to now. And he said there was a whole scene of where he took the serum and he was, the new the new Milo.
Mhm.
And what happened was he went to a bar and he met this girl and it was talking and they went back, I think, either to her place or his place, and she betrayed him. And that's why he's just angry at the world now, because it's no matter how I look or how my body is, I'm going to just be rejected. And so he doesn't care about taking someone's life when it comes to that. But the weird thing is it never fully explained why are we framing Morbius for murders.
Okay, that explains the bar scene that we do see where
Mhm.
she's like, "I swear I know you from somewhere."
Right.
And he just said, "No, no." And I'm like, "Wait."
Yeah.
I was like, "Was I not paying attention? Did we see this
Mhm.
girl somewhere?" I was like, "What? Was she in a flashback? Like, I don't know who this is." So, okay, that makes more sense now. That
Mhm.
scene made no sense. But plenty of stuff in this movie doesn't make sense. Like, the main newspaper of the world is the Daily Bugle. They
Right.
throw out so many little Spider-Man references in here, but yet somehow this doesn't link to Spider-Man. It
Well,
doesn't
that
make sense.
what happened was, remember the movie was supposed to come out before
Hmm.
No Way Home.
Yes.
So I think because they changed the order, it just wouldn't make any sense, and also that tacked on weird ending
Yes.
also wouldn't have made any sense either. It was convoluted. So as a result, I feel that they scrubbed all possible existence of the what they had in there, that especially that was shown in the trailer, including, remember there was the newspaper clip also said Rhino and Black Cat and had a
It,
couple other ones in there.
it had nods to all the different versions of Spider-Man. I mean, the
Yeah.
paper is from the Raimi movies. That was the original Daily
Right.
Bugle paper. But yet, in the trailer, he walked by a graffiti and it had Spider-Man painted on the wall and said murderer, and that was Andrew Garfield's costume. That was Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man on the thing. But and then there was the ambulance scene with Michael Keaton, and that was cut. Like,
Yeah.
he meets him,
Hmm.
and then now it's that he teleported in, I guess, from the whole No Way Home shit. Like, he gets
Well, yeah.
punted to that universe.
It's weird because if you remember when they did it and he magically appeared in the jail cell, he was basically saying, "Well, I guess this'll do," as if he was expecting to just be yeeted into the universe. It
Yeah,
wasn't even like, "Oh my god, what's going on? I'm in a jail, let me out." It
yeah.
was
I
like,
mean, I can understand because he was in jail in No Way Home. Like, he should have been in prison, but then he gets teleported to that prison, and he just kind of like, yeah, this is fine. And it's like, wait, what? What? You wouldn't be freaked out? And then,
Mhm.
okay, so also there's the other big thing. So, are Morbius and Venom in the same universe? There's two big Venom
Yes,
references.
because what happened was, remember at the end of Let There Be Carnage, he got kicked back out of the
Yeah,
universe.
yeah, he got punted. Well, at the end of No Way Home, he gets punted back to, I guess, his San Francisco. But
Yeah.
at the end of Let There Be Carnage, he saw Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and Venom licked the TV very weirdly, like he
Mhm.
knew him. And I was like, "Oh, so they're gonna say he's a no?" And he's not. It's so bizarre. I don't know what Sony's doing. It's like,
Maybe
yes,
he
he's in
was in
Spider-Man. No.
there. Maybe he met with everyone and he was in this movie, but they kicked him out. And because of they changed the order of the releases, it wouldn't make sense for him to stay in this movie because he was kicked out at the end of the other movie.
Well, I mean, but they have to, like, Morbius has to know about Venom because the FBI agents, who, by the way, I don't know why they're in this movie because they don't do anything but go around and do standard police work. Like, they
Well,
go,
he got
let's
he
talk
got
to.
Tyrese's scenes got 99% cut.
Okay, so they had more to do. I'm like, they have
Yeah.
nothing to do. The guy, his partner is just like superstitious, like he carries around holy water and shit, and they're just walking around asking questions and playing with litter boxes. And I'm like, why are these characters here? Yeah, and I felt bad for him because I'm like, I bet he was supposed to do more. He was very much
Mhm.
about hunting Morbius, and they only had that one confrontation on the roof, which didn't amount to anything. He just stopped him. He's just like, enough. And Morbius went, okay. I'm like, what? That's it? Okay, just arrested him just like that. All right. But yeah, so they had nothing to do, and they made a reference to Venom themselves. This they when they go on the ship, they're like, "Oh, this is just like that shit in San Francisco." And it's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, okay, there's the Venom reference because Venom killed all those
Right.
mercenaries." So, okay, so they're I'm hoping Sony keeps this somewhat consistent that okay, Venom and him are in the same universe.
Yeah.
But the
Um,
end credits, the post credit scene then doesn't make any sense. How did uh, Toombs build another Vulture outfit? He
well,
teleported in a prison jumpsuit. He
this
had
is why
nothing.
this is genuinely why I think they must have, because they remember they made a whole trailer of just his character alone.
Hmm.
So I genuinely think he knew what was going on and maybe he prepared for this moment or something, because remember, in Tom Holland's universe, he was collecting all of the different scrap metals from what was left over with the Avengers.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe that was just a new costume or he had someone else go and make it. I don't know. I'm literally pulling air out of air.
Because well, if he teleported into Morbius universe, they wouldn't have the Avengers. That whole
All right.
Avengers movie wouldn't have happened in that
But
universe, so
that's
he
why it
wouldn't have
feels
any of
like
that metal.
he knew he would be there.
Yeah, I mean, he had his suit, he had the whole thing, the wings and everything. And then I'm like, so you just called up Morbius? And why is Morbius driving? Like, when did he have a car?
When did
He's
he learn
just
how to fly is more of the question. But yeah,
Yeah,
he has
he
a
just
car.
figured out how to fly in the subway. Apparently, that necessity is the mother of invention, and he figured out he could fly if the
That
train pushed him.
confused me. Was he using one air or was it because of the bats?
No, it was the air because remember on the roof, when the FBI agent stopped him on the roof, he was blowing off the roof.
Yeah.
So it's because the air currents, he can ride the air currents, and that on the roof it was so windy he almost fell off. It was
How
blowing him
bad is
off.
that? You have to
So
explain.
it's
Sheesh.
yeah, it was weird. It should have been explained more. It should have been in either in that montage where he was figuring out his powers.
Right.
That should have been something he figured out. But
Yeah,
he
because
just
they.
he gets a inkling on the roof, and then when Matt Smith is fighting him in the subway, he all of a sudden goes, "Oh, I could just ride the currents because the train is pushing the air around, and I'll just jump in front of it." And it's just silly.
Is that
The
a
the
part of
bad thing was even
echolocation?
weirder. No, no, echolocation is just sonar.
Just
It's like
sonar?
he can see and hear everything around him.
Oh, I thought that was like another level of echolocation or
Well, yeah,
something.
his is magical because he can hear and see everything. Like, remember he heard his girlfriend and
Hmm.
Matt Smith talking, even though they were like blocks away.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so movie magic echolocation. It doesn't work like echolocation is just sonar. It's just you emit sound and it bounces off. You can see. It should be like Daredevil. His eyes shouldn't change. He should actually close his eyes and see like Daredevil. That would be echolocation. Whatever he had was like mystical. It wasn't like normal.
See, I was wondering if they couldn't do that because they don't like to have double powers. You know what I mean? Because they changed Kamala Khan's power because
Mhm.
it was too reminiscent of Mr. Fantastic. So then that's why I was wondering if that's what they intended. I don't.
Yeah, I feel like they should have explained them like a little bit more about like his condition because they just rushed into the oh I need my artificial blood every 6 hours and then it become every 4 hours and then it made a big deal about oh eventually it won't work for me anymore so I need to
Mhm.
stop myself. But then at the end of the movie he flies off into the night and he's just like I'm a vampire now and everything's fine. Like
Yeah, it
what?
was weird because it was that whole plot of you have to kill me,
Yes.
and that
But then
that
she dies, and I guess he decides to live, but then she's alive too. Well, she's now a vampire, I guess, because he
yeah,
kissed her.
yeah.
The
She
magical
bit
vampire
him.
kiss.
No, she bit him. Remember?
Oh, yeah, and some of his blood fell in her mouth, which
Yeah, so that's
apparently
how.
that's enough to just transmit it. That makes no sense.
Well, remember an interview with the vampire when he slit his wrist open and was like,
Yes, but
"Tree."
those are actual vampires. That's the old school Dracula. You get a bite or whatever, or drink the blood. That is that. This is like genetic Marvel weirdness. Like he's not a traditional vampire because he even makes a joke where he goes to reach for a coffee cup and he touches the sunlight and he's like, "Just kidding, I'm not that kind of vampire." Like he could go out in the sun and he can apparently he can eat food because he drank the coffee and I was like, "Wait, so you can eat food? Does that do
Yeah.
anything for you? Can you just like have a steak and maybe you'll be good for another hour? Like buffer
No,
the blood? Like
I
they don't
thought
explain that.
they don't. I thought it was all for show. I was so confused by this.
Yeah. I thought maybe he'd be like, "Oh, I can only eat blood now, and if I try to eat human food, like I'll get sick." No, he just drank the coffee. I'm like, "So what does that do to you?"
I don't know, but
I just
yeah.
I feel like yeah, I feel like they butchered this movie. That's
Mhm.
why now you're telling me, oh, what's his name? Scenes got cut. The FBI agents
Yeah.
they got whittled down. Matt Smith's explanation for his whole
Mhm.
flipping to evil, it got cut, and he's just instantly evil. And it's like, what is going on? And why would you start with the the Costa Rica thing and the ship thing? Like it felt like scenes were out of order.
It did.
Why would you start with him going to Costa Rica first to get the bats? Why wouldn't you explain? Why wouldn't you show him as a kid first and like, oh, okay, so we can empathize. We follow him through his life.
Mhm.
He's really smart. He gets his PhD or Nobel Prize. He invents artificial blood. He's a celebrated man. He gets to the hospital or the research facility and he's like you know the love interest like, oh, I see you're doing like illegal research. What is this with bats? And and then he shows her and he's like, I'm going to go on a trip to Costa Rica, you'll see, I'll get the bill. And that would have made sense. It would have flowed better. And then he's like, and then he could have gotten the bats and figured out the thing from the organ and go, I need to perform this experiment, but I need a mercenary ship. And Matt Smith's like, I have money, I'll pay for your ship. And but that
Mhm.
was all out of order. I was like, wait, we're on the ship and now he's off the ship and he's figuring out his powers after he just went full vampire and killed everyone. Like, it's just
Well, that's what you said right there. Also, there was numerous things that you said that didn't make any sense to me. How the heck did Milo become a billionaire?
yeah, it just I would have to assume he was just rich off the bat. Like he was just born into money because it makes no sense.
No, wasn't he one of the orphans?
He was in that hospital, but remember when they brought him as a kid there, he was brought in a limo and he had a
Oh, right,
butler. Yeah, so
right.
you're just supposed to assume he had money.
He has money, and then he just became a secret financier and collected art and became fancy with wine.
Yeah,
That's another thing that they messed up too.
and I wasn't clear. Did he own Horizon? Did he own? He seemed like he was walking
I
around like
think
he
so.
owned the place. So I
Yeah,
assumed he owned it, but they didn't outright say
I didn't say.
like, oh, I own this place. Like,
I think so.
okay,
But yes, oh, also going back with the things that they cut out regarding the after credit scene, the director had to go on a whole clarification tour for like a week and a half, where he's been explaining that the universe is much different than what we've seen in Doctor Strange, which is weird. Um, but basically, you can bounce around from universe to universe whenever you want to.
that whenever you
Yeah.
want to.
That's how he explained it. He explained it that the universe is open because we know in the curse that Peter Parker did, the first curse was anyone who knew Peter Parker would be in that universe. And then the second one is you have to go back to your own universe. So I'm going to assume within that thing, certain people can bounce around through different universes.
But I mean,
Yeah.
it's a little
Yeah.
difficult because I think that's a loose. Well, I think the director's interpretation of No Way Home is rather loose. His first wish was he wanted everyone to forget Peter Parker was Spider-Man, right? That
Yeah.
was his original wish, that Doctor Strange was going to make everyone forget, and then he screwed it up by saying, "Oh, I don't want Aunt May to forget. Oh, I don't want Mary Jane to forget. Oh, I don't want Happy to forget." And he fucked up the incantation, and that's how caused everything. And
Mhm.
other villains from other universes who knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man started leaking in. That was it. It was villains who knew who he was, even if it wasn't Tom Holland Spider-Man, who knew Spider-Man was Peter Parker, were coming spilling into that universe. And so to fix it, he had to say everybody who ever knew Peter Parker will forget me. The man, Peter, not Spider-Man. Everybody who
Right.
knows Peter Parker will
Right.
forget me, and that fixed it, right? But somehow that meant that Vulture, who knew not only knew him but knew he was Spider-Man, now gets punted to Morbius's universe because reasons.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right.
it's kind of a very loose interpretation, like saying like, oh, they just bounce around. That doesn't make any sense. I
So
mean, I
then he
can
did.
understand. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna just simply say that he just did an interview with the Daily News, the director,
Hmm.
and it gets even more convoluted. But he says that it's the outsider kind of superhero. So the universe, Venom and Morbius are connected,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And there are
I'm.
villains that live kind of outside of. That's it.
Well, I feel like okay. So they made this very haphazard, slap together attempt for Vulture to be putting together the Sinister Six, right? Why he goes
Yes,
to meet
which doesn't make
Morbius. It's like, oh, we should team up, but why? Morbius doesn't know who Spider-Man is. But either you needed to keep Spider-Man in that movie somehow, the reference to him, or that Morbius knows he exists, or that a Spider-Man exists in his world. Like if it's Andrew Garfield, if it was Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, I don't know which. I would assume it was either of those because the Daily Bugle's a paper and not a podcast like in Tom Holland's universe.
Mhm.
But you need to keep that in there so Morbius knows who he is, because when Vulture mentioned Spider-Man, he said, "Oh, this has something to do with Spider-Man." Morbius doesn't go, "Who or what? What? Who's
Yeah.
Spider-Man?" He just goes, "Oh, interesting. Okay." And they need to team up. All right, so you're forming the Sinister Six, which means you have to now do a Craven movie, and I don't know if they're gonna do Lizard again. I don't know if you're
No,
gonna
well,
make
I know
another Doctor
Craven.
Octopus, huh?
I know Craven
Yeah,
is
they're gonna
next,
do that,
but
but yeah, so he's gonna cobble together a villains gallery and have a villain movie, but to fight which Spider-Man?
I don't know
Tom
because
Holland?
here's the weird thing. So it was a thing where they never mention it by name, but it's kind of assumed that Spider-Man is responsible for the universe and that they
Yeah,
can hop around in the universe.
yeah. I mean, he fractured the universe with the first wish. Like he screwed everything up. Or Doctor Strange really did it because he shouldn't have even done it in the first place. I blame him.
I blame everyone. Um, but yeah, it's weird. The whole thing just doesn't make any sense, and it's anticlimactic. I know in my theater, people left during and before the after credits.
They're just done. Like I
They
don't even
left,
care.
and what was so sad was like Sony executives were in the audience, and it was like, I can't do this anymore, and they left.
Oof.
So
Ooh.
it was that bad. It was, and like for the longest, we didn't know what the embargo date was.
Yeah.
So I guess judging by that first round of reactions of people leaving before the after credit, which is kind of why the embargo ended up being so late as it did. As a with Sonic, people were like they said you can go and talk about the movie right after you see it. So
Man.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so the whole thing it doesn't make any sense. But I get at this point they're kind of like just don't think about it, go with it. But yeah, maybe he got released early in the other universe, went and remade the suit, and then was placed in this universe.
Yeah, but I feel he needed an extra scene to show him getting his stuff together. Like he appears, and then there's like a New York One's breaking news that this random guy appeared in this jail, and we're gonna let him go because we don't know who he is. I
Yeah.
mean, they almost say like, "Is he from another universe?" Like, is it? Would you be that casual about that shit on the news? Would people just be like, "Oh, that's weird.
Well,
This
here's
guy
the
who doesn't exist is just appeared
but
in jail."
but here's the thing, if you go back with the spell, it wasn't like, "And people will forget this ever happened."
Yeah, no, no, no. But the spell was in Tom Holland's universe. Like, uh, the if everybody saw the things fracturing and they were spilling, I mean, if some people were spilling into Tom Holland's universe and then they got punted back, that would be a little weird, but they wouldn't be able to explain it. They're like, I don't know what happened. I was like somewhere and there was Spider-Man. Now I'm here. But with Adrian Toomes, he was already in Tom Holland's universe, so for him to get punted out of it is just
Mhm.
bizarre. It's like you'd have to logic like, oh, he knew too much, so the universe rejected him. I don't know. I just I don't get it. It's really just plot convenience. They just need him to be there to form a Sinister Six. So he
Mhm.
got punted, he got yeeted into Morbius's universe so he could meet him and recruit him. And then eventually they'll probably do a third Venom movie and a Craven movie, and he'll go fly to them and go, "Hey, you seem like you hate Spider-Man. I don't know what the hell the pitch is. I really I watched that post-credit scene twice and I was like, what is the pitch here to
I
for
don't
him to
know,
go
and then
there?
if you remember the original and the, Tombs, remember he was really family oriented. All he wanted was to protect his daughter and to be
Yes.
a family, and, like, when he arrived in the jail, it was like, "Cool." But he
Yeah,
didn't even give any thought to, like, his daughter.
that I had a problem with that because yes, that was the most important thing to him, his business, and he protected his family and his daughter. Now your daughter is gone. You are in a whole other universe where you don't exist, so your family doesn't exist. You would think like, hey, I need to figure out how to get the hell out of here. I need to. Wouldn't you seek out if there was Doctor Strange in that universe or an equivalent? Like, I need to find the person that did this and get out of here. Like, I don't belong
Right.
here. Not go to the vampire man and go, hey, I don't like Spider Man. We should team up. Like, but what?
Unless he's a variant.
Oh no, we're going with that. We're
He
going with the
could be
variant.
if he's the variant, because if you look at it, certain things just didn't make any sense. Nothing to do with his family. He already knew what to expect. He knew, oh, remember he said, oh, there's something to do with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He didn't say, I don't, I just feel that that's the only way to explain it, was that he's a variant. He can't be the same Tombs, even though the director's like, it's the same guy. The only way you can save this is that he's a variant.
Yeah, but the variant stuff is strictly Marvel. It's
N
strictly like
It
Loki and
is,
Marvel.
but
But
if you're going into different universes all of a sudden, then maybe they're just, like, playing with their own set of rules at this point. Because
well,
if you look at
the
yeah.
variants had to do with timelines. And this gets very, very dodgy. This got dodgy in the comics too. Like saying there's alternate timelines and alternate universes are actually two different things. So the
Yeah.
variants were time variants, not dimensional variants, and so it's weird. So if he was you'll get super confusing where it's like, oh, he's a time variant from another universe. Like what? What? Oh, and no, and regular moviegoers are just going to reject that outright. They're just going to be like, I don't know what the hell you're talking. What is a variant? Like, and you have to assume they saw Loki. Do you even understand what that means?
This is they destroyed, like, a whole thing that Marvel set up throughout these movies in, like, 1 minute.
Yeah, I think they're both going down a bad road. I'm both. I mean Marvel and DC, because DC's
No.
stuff is like an even bigger mess. Like you have two Batman, and you're gonna have Flashpoint that's gonna wipe away half of the Snyderverse, but not
There's
the
3
other parts.
Batmans. There's
Oh,
3,
I'm
remember?
sorry. There's three Batmans. Excuse me.
Remember
There's
the
three Batman.
Michael Keaton, they brought
Yes,
him back. Then there's Batfleck.
there's Batflick, and then there's Pattinson. Yes,
Yep.
there's the Batman.
But
So
Pattinson doesn't connect to the other 2.
yes, he doesn't connect. That because that makes sense. And so you have three Batmen. Um, two, one of which doesn't connect to the other two. The other two really don't connect, but somehow Flash is going to join, merge all that together, and
Mhm.
then Henry Cavill Superman is gone,
Mhm.
but Aquaman is still there, and
Mhm.
Wonder Woman is still there, and
Mhm.
what?
And Cyborg is gone,
And
obviously.
Cyborg is
He
gone.
was murdered terribly off screen.
Yeah.
He was ran over with a truck driven by Josh Whedon and the other ones.
Oh my God. I
So
mean,
he's
holy
gone.
crap.
They melted
It's
him down.
Yeah, it's a mess. So they're both going down this like variant, alternate
No,
universe, time shit.
no, you can't. Marvel, aside from Sony, Marvel has been very consistent with what they've been doing, and they seem
Oh,
like
don't
they have it
worry.
all together.
Doctor Strange is coming, and that it's gonna get inconsistent real fast because let
I
me
don't
tell you,
think so.
it takes a hell of a lot of planning and talent to keep that stuff consistent. Like doing like you can either do alternate timelines or alternate universes very smart or very dumb. Like you'd have to either just not take it seriously, like Bill and Ted. Like you just go, time travel is just a whimsy, and you can just snatch people out of time and do your book
Mhm.
report or whatever, and that's it. You treat and it's fun, and people can forget about it because not taking itself seriously. Or you do like Back to the Future, where it's like there's a single timeline, and these consequences will do this, and the only way to fix it is to like travel around and make sure these events happen in these order. Okay, and you do that. But then when you start going, every possibility of everything everyone's ever done ever in history has happened, and you can just pluck them out of whatever and stick them in here. Well, that doesn't make sense, right?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, but and then it only provides the studios with convenience. Like, oh, we don't like this Superman. Well, don't worry. There's an infinite number of Supermen and Superwomen. And you could just pluck one of those out and put him in that universe when you don't like the other guy, or his contract runs out, or he runs his mouth off, or or assaults somebody in a karaoke bar in Hawaii. Like we
Ooh.
could just pluck another one out, and there you go.
Well,
Why does he look different? Don't ask questions. He's a variant.
we are getting a black Superman. Remember that one?
Yeah, we'll have 3. We'll have a woman, we'll have Superwoman or Supergirl, whatever they
Supergirl,
call it. Yeah,
Supergirl,
Supergirl, and then but
Superwoman.
we'll have Black Kal-El, and then eventually when they because they each Batman will need their own Superman, they'll introduce another one. So we can't have only 2 Supermans and 3 Batmans. And then Jason Momoa will feel lonely, so they'll hire a blonde guy who looks like Aquaman from the comic books. Oh god, it's just I just feel okay. I'm not even gonna talk about it anymore. I've gone off track because Morbius has like melted my brain with especially the post credit scene. I literally had to like think
You
about
love
that
the
heavily.
post-credit. You love that post-credit scene where he
No, and
uh,
there
mhm.
must have been another one. Was there another one that they
No,
scrapped to have that one?
there must have been because here's the thing, if you it looked like it was tacked on and filmed probably within the month of March or February
Yeah,
because again, when you looked at it, it didn't even look like they were looking at each other. It looked like they wasn't even there. And
yeah.
they filmed their scenes separately and there you go, copy and paste onto the end. And that's it. But that was I think they got rid of what was initially going to be their original thing. Maybe where it introduced the actual Sinister Six
Oof.
because it just everything didn't make any sense. You're like he randomly drives to the middle of nowhere. How he was able to get in contact with him, I don't know.
Yeah, he just like, oh, I called him. Like, what?
Hmm. And
You
he was
think
like,
with the FBI chasing you down, thinking you murdered half the NYPD in a
hmm,
blood frenzy is going to keep his phone?
I don't know. And then he's like, let's do some bad. And that goes completely against Morbius, unless all of a sudden they're going to be good guys. So it's like,
Yeah.
let's do some bad by doing some good. Yeah, it didn't make any sense. It doesn't it just doesn't make any sense. And then the whole thing with, it's Spider-Man's doing, and then Morbius responds with interesting, as if he too knows who Spider-Man is.
Yeah, that was my big problem. I'm like, wait a minute, you got rid of pretty much references to Spider-Man in this movie, but yet
Mhm.
when he hears the name Spider-Man, he's not like, wait, who's
Nice.
Spider-Man?
He's
What?
like, because even remember with what's the dude? Jamie Foxx, Electro. There were things that were not matching up because that wasn't the same Electro. He was like, who? So
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
he's like, remember, I thought you was black. He didn't know who Peter Parker actually was.
Yes.
But
Yes.
so it made you say, like, hey, I don't know who you are. Maybe I'm from another universe. But with this one, it's just like, cool, I'm in a new jail. Let's go do something with Spider Man. And then Morbius is like, cool, let's do it. Interesting. Like, even like, who? I think a who would have been more better than an interesting. You could have
Yeah,
saved it right there.
and wouldn't it have made more sense instead of pulling Michael Keaton because he was in No Way Home, like if you're Sony and you want to divest yourself kind of a Marvel a bit, wouldn't you have Venom go tap Morbius and go,
Hmm.
"Hey, I saw what happened in New York." Wouldn't it be have made more sense for Eddie Brock being the investigative reporter to
Hmm.
go, "Hey, a bunch of vampire murders happened in New York. I got to go see this shit." He goes there
Hmm.
and Venom tells him there's something very wrong with this, and then he tracks down Morbius, and they kind of maybe have an understanding and they team up or something. Wouldn't that may have made more sense?
Or maybe at the end of the post-credit scene for Let There Be Carnage, instead of him getting, you remember when he got placed in that universe and he's licking
Yeah,
Peter? Why not it have been Morbius? Because technically the movie was already filmed. It
yeah,
had just been
yeah,
Morbius walking down the street with the remember the murder thing sign and him licking that.
yeah.
And I don't know, maybe him no because they're in the same universe. And they were filming almost at around the same time-ish, which oh god, it sucks.
Yeah, it really there's some really baffling bad decisions that went into this movie. And I think like the problem is it sat too long. That
Mhm.
initial problem, like it probably wasn't great to begin with. Like
Mhm.
okay, there might have been more scenes that like
Right.
Matt Smith was saying, whatever, that would have fleshed out things.
Mhm.
But okay, so you would have gotten probably an over 2 hour movie at that point, and it sat too long in the can, and executives started meddling with it. They started second guessing themselves with everything. Then Spider-Man No Way Home came out and blew away all their expectations, and they went
Mhm.
and butchered this movie more, and now
Mhm.
released it in this like abject state that makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. It makes no sense at all. That's the only thing I can think of as well. It felt like it was honestly, it felt like it was being sabotaged,
Yeah,
which is so sad. So then, do you want the Espinosa cut?
I they maybe to save it, maybe they could do that on like a Blu-ray release or something, and just go,
A whole
here
different movie.
here's we've spliced in together all the things, and we put the original post-credit scene. You could have both. Like, why not have a mid-credit and a post-credit? Because the Vulture one makes no sense either way, so
Mhm.
might as well just splice in what you were going to do originally, and just show everybody what it could have been. Because I mean, you spent the money on this movie, and obviously you want to do something with this character. Either the idea is to create a new Sinister Six that spans
Mhm.
different universes, although
How would that work though?
I I I don't know. I guess the director's just saying everybody can
Oh,
just
yeah.
jump around
You
whenever they
never know.
want, so they'll just jump to where Craven is and jump to Lizard or jump and get Jamie Foxx, like that one from No Way Home, and just jump around, get the band together, and then go, ah, we all hate Spider-Man, and half of them go, wait, who's Spider-Man? Oh, you mean
Ha.
my Spider-Man? You mean Black Spider-Man? No, I'm cool with him. No, no, I mean the other guy.
That's funny though. That would work.
Yeah, I mean, they would be like, "Well, I'm cool with Black Spider-Man." No, no, this is a white dude. My Spider-Man's this little white kid from Queens. Oh shit. Oh, I don't know that guy. And then then you have Morbius going, "I don't even know who Spider-Man is." Like, who are you to talk about?
Where's Peter Parker?
Yeah, right. And, and it's just amazing to me, like the missed opportunities in this movie, the confusing editing,
Mhm.
and and
The special
just the
effects.
yeah, the special effects were like,
Well,
and I I don't like the okay, like I understand the characters need they always these guys need FaceTime. They always want their face, so they can't look like vampires all the time. Like Matt Smith can't have his ugly monster face. He has to constantly morph back into normal, and then he only gets monster face sometimes. And I'm like, wait, we already know. Like, stop it. We know who he is. So if he's going full vampire and he's embraced that life, let him look evil. Like that would have been a nice contrast if Morbius kept more of his human features and Matt Smith looked like Monster Man. That would have been fine because he's evil.
Hmm.
But no, they constantly shift back and forth, and Morbius has like his bat face, but only sometimes. I guess when he calms down, it goes away. It's just weird. I don't know how bat DNA gives you like smoke powers. Like he's like
Yeah, that
turning into
you
vapor.
you
What?
know what it reminded me of? Remember X2
Yes, with
and remember
Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler?
Yeah, that's what I thought. He's like like I see he's bamfing around because it's like he goes turns into smoke, and I'm like, you can't say he's not the traditional vampire, and yet he's bamfing around, turning into smoke. What does that have to do with actual bats and genetics? That has
I
nothing
thought
to
it
do with
was
anything.
teleporting. I was
Yeah, he's
confused.
teleporting and he's creating smoke.
It was weird.
It was very weird, and the thing and they put in the little like dark man nod where he's like, every 6 hours I need to have my artificial blood. Except it was convenient, like he was always setting that watch, and it
Hmm.
seemed like when he didn't, it just didn't matter. Like when he was in, think about it, when they arrested him, it must have been hours before
Yep.
he got interviewed, but yet
Hmm.
he was fine. And he was in there. He didn't have any artificial blood, and then Matt Smith shows up and throws him a bag later. That must have been like days, but yet he was okay.
Yeah.
He only goes berserk when he figures out that Matt Smith is also a vampire. That's when he busts out of there because he leaves the cane and he realized, oh, he obviously took the serum.
Yeah, the whole thing didn't make any kind of sense either when they broke that down. Maybe it was like one of those smartwatches, and then he just did it that way. But I don't know because he was in that jail a long
Well, I
time. Like,
mean,
I mean, realistically.
that's a writing faux pas. You could have said, "I'm good for a day," or "I'm good for 36 hours," or something. 6 hours was too short a time to have some of those scenes work. It should have been like, if I have artificial blood, I can last for like 24 hours or 36 hours, some length of time where those scenes could have worked.
Hmm.
But it was so inconvenient. Then it wasn't even like later on he said, "Oh, the serum only works for 4 hours now. It's getting less effective." So you even have even less time. So he should have been going berserk every other scene,
Hmm.
but he wasn't. He was just fine.
Yeah, that's true. It doesn't. I don't know. Just it was the way how they just edited it. Maybe they just left that scene in there
Yeah,
just to have it.
and then
Ugh.
he really doesn't have his artificial blood unless like you assume he went back to the lab and stole
Hmm.
all the bags that were there. Like, or he went and got like it would have been nice if they had left in a little scene where he collects a bunch of it, or he has like a way to make more conveniently,
Right.
but they don't do that. He okay, and all right, I have another problem.
Hmm.
I just thought of something. The counterfeit lab. The counterfeiter lab that he
I
takes over.
forgot all about that scene.
Yes.
Yes.
He leaves and he stops a bunch of counterfeiters, these guys who are printing fake money, and they have a lab. Now,
Hmm.
I don't know what these guys would need other than Photoshop and a good printer. Why they had all that other scientific equipment. They had like crazy shit, and he's like, "I'm taking your lab," and it's like you have four guys who don't look like they passed high school chemistry running this lab, and he takes in 2 seconds, right? And it was a
Hmm.
funny little scene, but it's like, why? How do these guys have an advanced lab, and all they're doing with it is making counterfeit bills?
I thought it was more than that. I mean, if you're going to go into the business of business, wouldn't it also be like some counterfeit drugs and
Well, yeah,
anything
but
else that's counterfeit?
they should have showed that because what he does is he takes apart a bunch of their stuff from the printer machine and he makes us a makeshift centrifuge, right? Remember, he
Yeah.
cobbled together and it started spinning. They
Hmm.
didn't have a centrifuge there. If you were like, if you said it was a drug lab, that would have made total sense. They would have had the stuff there to mix chemicals and maybe it had microscopes and all that stuff. But They had all that for just making fake money, and that didn't make any sense.
Maybe it was a drug thing and in the nighttime, and then in
Yeah,
the
but
day.
they just show it. I mean, it's a movie about a vampire and a guy drinking blood and people getting murdered. You can't show drugs? Oh, we can't show drugs. You say they're
Well,
counterfeiting money.
no, remember they couldn't even show blood. They just had the gurgling sounds of anybody whose throat was slashed.
Yes, I noticed that. I noticed when what's his name got raked at the end when Milo raked
Mhm,
the father figure. I
mhm.
still can't remember his name. And his shirt just had some red on it, but I'm like, did you just gut this man? He should literally be bleeding like all over the floor, like his gut slash, and he's just holding his stomach like, oh, you scratched me.
Oh,
Oh, I'm gonna
I'm
sit here
dying.
for. I'm gonna call Michael on you. Oh.
Imma call Michael on you.
And he does. He's like, Milo hit me. And he comes to the house, and he says his
His
little teary
goodbyes.
goodbye, and he dies. And I'm like, okay. And yeah, they were very much covered up the blood. There's only very little blood. There's a little blood around Morbius's mouth once in a while, and
Jarrett
my,
Harris.
Jared. Okay, yeah, and that's it. Like when he kills those guys on the boat, you don't see an ounce of like when he turns back to normal and he's like trying to figure out what he did. He's totally clean. I'm like, you just murdered 8 dudes, and there's not an ounce of blood anywhere. They just cleaned all that up.
It was
I'm like, this is a vampire movie. Come on now. Come on.
it's so it's how ironic is that? A vampire movie and you can't show blood.
I mean, remember Blade? Blade had a pool of blood. There was a blood pool that he fell in to recharge himself so he could fight Steven Dorff at the end. They had the
Mhm.
crazy sword fight. That's like there was blood all over that movie. That movie was like throwing ketchup at the screen. It's
Well,
just like
wasn't that
blood.
also, like, rated R and this one's PG?
Well, it should this should have been rated R.
You
It's like
can't
just
do rated R movies and, like, want the kids and the babies to come.
so fuck, they'll grow up and watch it later. No, this movie needs to be like you need to make a decision. Like that PG-13 philosophy I think has failed a lot because look at how much money Joker made, and
Mhm.
you need to just bite the bullet and have grittier movies, and people will come. And if like kids miss out on it, fine. You have Shazam or you have Guardians, you have the other movies you could turn to. They could see Spider-Man, whatever. But you need this to be grittier. If you eventually take Morbius and make him fight Spider-Man and Spider-Man's in his PG-13 movie, then you tone down Morbius. But in his world, just like Venom should have been, it needed to be rated R. Venom should be biting dudes' heads off and
He did
ripping them
that.
apart. He was
Oh,
biting their heads off. You didn't see anything.
it was a clean bite.
Yeah, well, it should have been a dirty bite. It should have been
Dirty
very
bite.
dirty and awful. And you needed that, and especially with a character like Carnage. Carnage just a terrible murderer. Like he's a psychopath, and
Mhm.
you needed that kind of grittiness. Like that establishes who Venom is, like who Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock is. Like that he cares. He actually cares about people. He won't do that. And then like you have Cassidy, who is just a psychopath. He'll kill anyone and anything, children, women, nothing. He does not give a shit. So but you need that grittiness that makes the audience like react. You need stuff visceral so that the audience reacts and forms emotional connections to the characters. You can't form emotional connections when there's no stakes. Like this movie, also this movie had no stakes. I
No.
another complaint. I'm gonna go past the counterfeit lab now to why Matt Smith was constantly beating the shit out of the guy he considered his brother. I'm trying to free Michael. He's not embracing the fact that he's a vampire. So why are you trying to kill him every time you see him? That's
Right.
not freeing. Like freeing is like the other stuff when you were messing with his girlfriend or you killed a father figure. It could have been like, oh, if I take these factors out of his human life, then he won't want to be human anymore. But no, Milo goes completely haphazard, and half the time he sees him, like in the subway, he wants to murder him. What was the point of that? What was the point? And they know they can't kill each other like normally. They obviously can just beat each other and injure each other, but they're not dying. So
Yeah.
what is the point of this beatdown? Like, why was he beating? And at the end of the movie, when he pile drives him through the Manhattan streets, and they end up in the fictional giant sewer. I don't know
Yeah.
what the cavern, and Matt Smith is still trying to like stab him with rebar and hit him with concrete and all this. I'm like, what is the point of this fight? Like this fight makes no sense. Like if you wanted to kill him, you would try to really kill him, right? Like
Right.
try to cut his head off or something like a traditional vampire, maybe, or burn him or something.
Yeah.
But they're like, he's like, Matt Smith just decides, I'm going to punish you and hit you relentlessly for
Yeah.
some reason. And then Morbius just calls all the bats in New York, which I'm like, there are vampire bats in
Well,
the New York sewers?
maybe remember that whole scene where he was sitting when he first after he got the transfusion thing, and he walked into that place where he was holding all the bats, and they were like, "They are my brothers now."
Yes, but that was in his lab, and that was only the few bats he took from Costa Rica. They were just in
Yeah,
that
but
tube.
remember they communicate. Okay, so what happens is they're able to communicate with each other through using the sonar echolocation, and that's how he is able to call upon his bat friends.
Yes, but they were
Yeah,
locked in a big tube that's probably SeaWorld grade acrylic meant to hold like Shamu the whale in. So how did these bats break out of that thing?
echolocation. No, it's the bats in the city.
Why are there bats in the city?
I don't know. It's a movie about a Batman.
But we're both from New York. You're living in New York right now. You ever seen a bat?
Never.
There's
No.
rats. That's what he should have called. There's plenty
you
of those.
you can't do that because that's Willard, and they don't own Willard.
That doesn't matter. It should have. They should have just shown up like, we're down here.
Well, Ratatouille. Then you have to
Yeah,
sell
right.
them.
But he calls, and there's like, there's not a few bats like he had in the tank. If you said, okay, his bat brothers that he had in the tank broke out and flew to him, right? Okay,
Yeah.
but there's not 8 billion of them. Like 8 billion fucking bats fly out of the sewer, attack, and then he can command them to attack Matt Smith. Apparently they don't like Matt Smith because he's too evil. Like we drink blood, but this motherfucker's crazy. So
Yeah,
they
well,
just
that's his friends. It's like,
start, yeah, so he commands them and they start tearing at Matt Smith, and then he finally is able to kill him with the
mhm.
anti-serum he makes. But it's just ridiculous. Like they there could have been one scene to establish that uh like uh like literally you could have had a throwaway line like he's like, do you know there's like 10 billion vampire bats living under the New York sewers, and they came from blah, blah, just have some stupid, or maybe they're in Jersey. And it's like, do you
It's on
know this?
Jersey.
Yes, they could just fly through the Holland Tunnel and be here. I'll call them. Like, just have something to explain why there was a million bats showed up to help him that weren't his. That it couldn't be his bats because they were sealed in that building.
Oh, oh, look at this. Look. I googled bats in New York City,
Yeah.
and they found some bats. They're found in all 5 boroughs of the city.
Okay, so there's some bats like about a billion. Like
In the
how many
Bronx. In the
in the
Bronx.
Bronx? Like in the zoo?
No, they found 5 different bat species in just the Bronx alone.
Okay, so there's a few
Yeah.
bat species, but they're not like vampire bats, which is what I'm assuming he called upon
No,
to
I
help
think
him.
he called regular bats.
You
There's no such
sure?
thing as vampire bats.
But that's what he was experimenting with in the
Look,
movie.
Queens alone has a total of 6 different bat species.
Okay, I don't care if they have, there's probably like 15 total bats found. It's like there's not a million of them. If you're I swear to God, you could probably find a colony of a million rats under Manhattan. I'd believe that shit. But I'm not believing, even if you find bats living in all 5 boroughs, there's probably like a few hundred total. He called tens of thousands. There was
Well,
just like
then they
it was a
called their
barrage.
buddies. It was like a whole
They phoned a friend.
phone a
They called their
friend.
friends. Yes, and they all managed to fly from the entire East Coast to where he was in two
Look, they
seconds.
just had a screening of the Batman, and a real bat, flew into the theater. There you go.
Okay.
I'm trying here.
Oh, one bat. Oh,
One
no.
one whole bat, but he's gonna call his buddies, and then they're gonna call their buddies. Telephone.
Yeah, I mean, it was a reach, and honestly, I didn't. Okay, so all right, let's all right. In Morbius's New York, 100 billion bats live under Manhattan. Fine.
Yes,
Okay, I'll accept that. Why did he need them? I mean, literally, he like
it's
powered
his
up to
DNA.
call them. No, no. I mean, all they did was pin down Matt Smith so he could stab him. Remember, they weren't killing him. Like, obviously, they can't die from conventional injury. They are scratching each other. Matt Smith put him through the street into
Mhm.
the sewer. Like it was like superhero level. I was like, oh, they should have done more of that because that was like superhero level like fight. He pile drives him through the street and they end up in that cavern. I was
Mhm.
like, but Morbius gets up from that. They're obviously they're none the worse for wear for all this fighting. All he
Yeah.
all he uses the bats to do is really distract him so he can stab him. But you could have overpowered him and probably stabbed him, or you could have just like went, hey Matt, look, there's some blood over there. What? And just stabbed him in the. I don't know. It just seemed like the bats were just like, hey, I could call bats, but it's like he didn't have a good use for them. Now, if the bats started fucking tearing up Matt Smith till he looked like a fucking skeleton
Yeah.
or something, like really like fucked him up. He didn't look like his suit was even like getting messed up from all the bats.
No. Twilight did a better job at explaining bats and vampires. This is sad. Jeez Louise. I don't even think there was a bat in Twilight, but it did a better job explaining a bat.
Yeah,
This
I
is
mean, this movie was missing so much like
yeah.
context and explanation and obviously was
Okay.
butchered.
So there's a scene where Morbius he uses echolocation, right? And that
Yeah.
it causes the dust can fall. Remember how the dust is like falling and he uses it?
Hmm.
And and he's able to jump and fly through the sky through the echolocation. Okay, remember in the train scene, he had like a flashback or an image quickly of the bats rushing towards him. So I think it's like a communication to the bats.
No, I'm not saying I agree with you. I know because when he did it in the lab, remember he was bouncing the ball. He
Hmm.
did the echolocation. Yeah, obviously he can talk to the bats that way. I'm just saying he called up about a billion of them. I'm like, what?
Yes, because of echolocation. So remember how he's able to like
No, no,
um
I that's not my problem. My problem was the billion bats. My problem is not the echolocation.
every
I'm
time
fine
that
with
he's
that.
no, but
If he
see, look,
called if he called all 15 from the Bronx Zoo, that would have been
look,
more feasible.
I'm explaining how this works. So you
Okay.
have him flying through the sky, right? So you're flying, it's like a math thing. So you're flying through the sky and you use your echolocation. The
Yeah.
further out you're able to fly, the further your echolocation goes. So therefore, the further the space is, make it more wider for the bats to come and find you.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
trying. See?
Right, but
Math.
they would still have to fly there, right?
When
Sound
they
travels
flew there.
faster than bats, so
Exactly. Sound travels faster than anything, well, like maybe like the speed of light or
yeah, but
something.
if you're a bat in like Trenton, New Jersey, and you heard the echolocation, you know how long it would take you to fly to where he was? The
But
movie
they
was
were
already
like
over.
super bats. So we're like, oh
They're
my God, my
like
buddy's in
super
help.
bats.
So there you go.
I
You're
what's
welcome.
crazier is like, okay, so Morbius was one step ahead of Matt Smith with like knowing his powers. Like he knew the echolocation and stuff. And Matt Smith was obviously confused when he started doing the echolocation. He started looking at the water and he was really confused what was happening. And it's like, dude, you are like him. How are you confused? You figured out flying and all that shit too.
Because remember, he's not the smart one. Morbius is the smart one, and
Yeah, I
Matt Smith
know.
is like the wine guy.
I know. Well, yeah, he's the wine guy. He's the wine vampire. He only knows about
You
wine.
know, the
Yeah,
wine.
it's I know because he kept making that joke. Oh, you tried the red, and it's like, haha, I get it. Like red wine. Yeah, you're an asshole. But the thing is like he wasn't he wasn't completely dumb. Like Morbius didn't teach him jack about like being a vampire, right? Like he discovered all that stuff. Like he knew he could fly because when he goes in the bar and the guy like punches him or whatever and he like chills out and he leaves, he's
Mhm.
like perched like Batman way up on a building waiting for those dudes to come out, and then he jumps off the building. So he knows he can survive that fall. He knows he
Mhm.
can host and do the whole smoke thing. So he
Mhm.
figures all that stuff out, but he never figures out like the echolocation. Like he just figures
No.
out like the basic stuff he can do. And he
Well,
sees
at first.
Morbius do the other stuff. Like he sees him do the echolocation in the subway and the flying, and he never goes, "Oh wait, can I do that?" Like he just lets him go in the subway and goes, "Wow, that's weird. He could do that." And he never like. You would think he would go, "Wait, can I do that?"
Well, if he can do that, he doesn't know how to do that.
Well, I mean, but he doesn't like try to figure it out. That's my
He
point.
probably did. It was probably a whole montage of him figuring out his new body.
But see, they need.
They got that.
That's what makes this movie suck. If there was a thing where he was trying to figure this stuff out, like and develop like why Milo is doing all this stuff, you would have had a better movie, but we don't have any of that. So it's just you just have this convoluted mess. It's like, why is he acting like this? Why does he not know how to do this? Like, why? It's just so many questions, and it's like, well, that's left on the cutting room floor. Well, your movie sucks because of that.
Ooh, yeah. Um, I just really think they hacked this to death to the point where, and even as you was just simply explaining, the opening credits itself, the first 30 minutes bounces back and forth so much it doesn't make any sense. Because remember, he won the Nobel Prize,
Hmm.
which they didn't pronounce correctly, by the way. I'm like, that also goes with the ADR. It also sounded like some random voiceover thing. Butchered everything.
Yeah,
But he won the Nobel Prize, and literally right after that, we have the scene with him with the little girl saying, "Yeah, I didn't accept it."
yeah. I'm like, what? Okay, why? But you were. We just had the scene where he was there. Why didn't he just not accept it in the scene when he was getting it?
Uh-huh.
It's like you have the scene. Don't have. Oh, this
Okay,
is a show
wait,
don't tell
wait, wait,
problem.
wait. I'm finding out scenes that were deleted. Okay,
Okay, okay,
so here are the scenes that they deleted. There's a scene between Vulture confronting Morbius. Remember
okay.
what you said with the police lights are flashing? And
Hmm.
he says, Michael Morbius says, got tired of doing the whole good thing, huh? What's up, Doc? So that explains his turn. Somewhere within that movie, he got exhausted with doing the good thing, and that's why he turned evil.
Who? Morbius?
Morbius.
Well, when did he turn evil? Like in the?
They cut it out because in the trailer, the first
Yeah.
run of trailers when this movie was
Yes, I
supposed to
remember
come
the
out,
ambulance thing, and he says that line to him, but
yeah,
I didn't. But the line has no context because it was just a
right, because
trailer.
they're right. It was originally in the movie, but they cut that whole part out,
Yeah.
making that trailer irrelevant. But in that whole movie, the original cut, it explains why he got tired of being good and now wants to do bad. He can't get anywhere in life playing the good guy because they already view him as the villain. Remember
Mhm.
Morbius the killer.
Yeah.
God, I hate this movie. Fart. So it literally what they did was, and you can somewhat argue this, they cut it because it was too similar to No Way Home. So No Way Home, so Marvel and Sony are not on the same page.
Oh yeah.
Somebody's not communicating with someone. And their movie, the original Morbius, was supposed to be kind of like, oh, he was framed, he's the bad guy. And people are taking sides. And he got so sick and tired of it, he started to become the bad guy permanently. Whereas with Peter, he was always trying to clear his name.
Yeah.
God, I hate this fucking
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. It's and that's kind of lost too because I'm like
And
trying to figure out where that scene would be because now they just made Toombs's character uh teleport at the very end. That
nope,
was like at the very
it
end of the
is
movie.
actually he didn't. He's in the movie throughout.
But see, they screwed that up now.
They cut him out, which makes the other trailer also irrelevant.
Yes.
So what originally was in the movie was that Morbius was led into a police car and Vulture is escorted away by police and says, "Hey Michael, you and I should stay in touch." They've always known of each other. And they had some kind of interaction throughout the whole movie where
Mm,
maybe he was some kind of patient of his initially, and
yeah.
that's what happened. and he was like, "I'm sick of the world," and he came to him, and then some crime happened, which is why they're like, "You and I should stay in touch," because they're both being escorted by the police away from each other.
Yeah,
So they did some kind of crime together. Oh, they butchered this whole movie.
they really did, and it's well, it's a shame. I mean, it's easy to say like, I don't really care about this character, whatever. No, I mean, this is connected to Spider-Man. He's part of that Spider-Man universe. He's a Spider-Man villain, but it's okay to make an anti. If you want to do the anti-hero thing, I think Venom did it better. If you
Hmm.
wanted him to be like that, but you've just put him on a path that you can't
Right.
course correct without retconning what just happened in this butchered movie.
Yeah, and Spider-Man was supposed to be. God damn it. Fuck. Okay, so here's another thing. The whole Mysterio death thing.
Yeah.
Vulture is aware of what happened, and you know, and I guess in this Sonyverse, it carries over of what Peter Parker did.
But so that would mean that
Hmm.
Vulture wasn't affected by Doctor Strange's spell at all. Like if he
No,
remembers all that.
so they could have easily, when they was everybody was going back and forth through the universe, he could have figured out what was happening through some kind of technology that he had left over, and was trying to transport and figure things out, and that's how he ended up in the jail because he was already arrested in his. Oh my god, this movie.
Yeah, I mean also like if you wanted to make Morbius, like you need a reason to pull all these people together against Spider-Man, right? This new
Hmm.
Sinister Six thing. So I mean, it would have been easier for Toombs to have told him like, "Hey, you realize that somehow you're like this. This your experiment went wrong is because of Spider-Man messing with the universe or something like that." Like
Hmm.
maybe like focus this guy's anger like he's now a vampire, his life is ruined, and it's like, oh well, it's Spider-Man's fault, and because he did this and the universe is misaligned, and you shouldn't have these powers, and you shouldn't be a vampire, and your experiment should work. But because the universes are all mishmashed, that's why you're like this.
Yeah,
But
and
no, they
then
didn't do that.
no, Daniel Espinosa also confirmed that Vulture was originally was supposed to be introduced in a whole different way, and that the Spider-Man graffiti was the way how it was supposed to be through the introduction.
Oh boy.
I hate this movie.
Oh boy. It's a mess. It's a whole mess.
So Tom Holland could just be a variant.
Tom Holland could be a variant. You could throw and now like with fans screaming they want to see Andrew Garfield, why not just throw him in here too? That makes sense.
Don't do
Just
that
have
to
two,
Andrew.
have three Spider-Men. Why not? There's three Batman, so why not? Marvel can have three Spider-Mans.
Why not Toby? I miss Toby. He
Yeah, bring him back too. Bring
bring
no
them
he
both back. They stay in touch.
Yeah, and they each could fight one of these guys. Like and Morbius could go, "Who are you? I'm Peter Parker." But I thought that young-looking guy over there was Peter. Nah, he's the other guy. He's the variant. I'm the other guy. Or maybe I'm the variant. I don't know. We can have
Oh
this
gosh, that
whole
just made it
conversation.
terrible. Oh, but I could see Sony doing that. That's how terrible it is.
That's how terrible it is. Like, oh man. I just yeah, they have messed up this movie. Honestly, like going forward, like they should forget this movie. Like
Yeah.
forget this happened. Like this like everybody got a nice paycheck. Just walk away from this just move on because you've really messed this up. Like keep going with Venom. That's fine. That people are angry at that, but you can salvage that because
I
people like the
like Venom.
character. Like just forget this movie. Move on with Craven, whatever else. Just forget this ever happened.
Ooh, so cancel Craven. Good
No, no,
lord.
no, no.
Oh,
Move on with Craven. Like, just forget. Like, don't have Craven connect to this movie. Don't have him mention Michael Morbius or anything. Just have move on with this, and somehow link it to Spider-Man. Just this, but whatever this is, just leave it.
jeez Louise. That's so sad. We'll never mention this again.
Yeah, just don't talk about this. This is too convoluted and messed up. Like, don't try to because they'll try to fix it. It's like, no, 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 you can't fix this.
Cold blooded. Ha ha ha.
You have burned down this barn. There's no like putting the beams back up and just leave it.
Oh, not the barn. It's
It's gone.
destroyed forever.
Yeah. It's just
Sheesh.
build the other barn, the Craven barn over there. Like just build that one.
But the
Like this.
foundation is already rotted.
On oh well that's why you build it farther away. You build it over there. Put lay the new cement and yeah, just forget this happened. Just write it off. Collect the insurance and just move on.
Ooh, suit, but it's sabotage. Does it get the
It-
money?
Sabotage. I
That is
really like I don't know like I'll peek at the box office numbers later for
the
this
I
movie.
know on Thursday it opened with 5.7, which is
Okay.
on track to something that's positive.
Okay.
Um,
Well, what was the budget of the movie though? How much?
let me see really quickly. Box office. Yum.
I'm curious because it had reshoots.
Okay, look, look, look. Not bad. Not bad. Ready?
Yeah.
Morbius has 17.1 million in
Mhm.
4,268 theaters at Friday. So there you go. At Friday, it's standing at that point.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
shocked they put in that many theaters.
it's
4,000.
projected. It's projected to have 40 million.
Okay.
So that could be good. You had 5.7 on just Thursday alone, and then you had the rest of the 12 point whatever I can't math in the 12 million. That's not bad for opening ish day.
Yeah, no, it's not bad. And there's
Oh, the
I
budget was 75.
yeah.
Jesus,
Well, and I could say all I want. If this movie
it's not.
makes money,
I don't think so.
they will resurrect this barn.
I don't think so.
You
It
know,
was took 75 million to make, and
yes,
we're only at
right. So
17.
you have to double that because like you have marketing costs and all this stuff. So the movie to be even break even would have to be well into like maybe 130, 140 million, be
Mm-hmm.
generous. And if it made that it just recouped its costs, right? If it made 75 million, that's not enough because the marketing and everything you've blown all that budget on that. Um, yeah, so if it's if yeah, if, and I think this weekend it probably is not getting good word of mouth. I tried to stay away from any reviews. I mean, judging from some of the YouTube thumbnails I saw, people were not liking this movie, so I I did not like this movie. But it's yeah, so it you won't have that kind of you're gonna have the big drop off the next weekend and whatever, and I don't think it'll recoup its
I
original
don't.
budget.
I don't think so at all. At 75 for just the budget alone,
Mm.
and you're only looking at 17 so far. I don't know. And word of mouth is like it's sucky. So people
Yes.
might just hold off because it's coming to Netflix. Not soon, but eventually.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, people wait for that if they know, like, oh, I could just sit and watch on Netflix eventually.
Yeah.
Like they'll do that, and it's I know people are going back to the movies and want to see stuff. Uh, this is not it. Like,
Go see Sonic.
yeah, it's I was gonna say that just 'cause Sonic comes out. Wait, 'cause Sonic came out, right?
No, Sonic's out on the 8th.
An eighth. Okay, I'm sorry.
Mhm. It's brilliant, by the way.
Oh, that's good. I mean, I enjoyed the first one. I enjoyed the first one.
It
So,
tops the first one.
oh, interesting. All right.
Mhm.
I definitely I will try to catch because it's the last movie I saw before the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
Like when
You're
I
lucky.
yeah everything shut down. Like
And
that's the
everything
last
shut
thing
down.
that
It's like, "Here's my moment of happiness," and then it shut down.
it was all shut down, and everything else kind of got pushed back. I remember I wanted to see things were opening up Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I think that kept getting punted.
Oh, that was punted a lot. It was
Yeah,
decent.
I liked it, and Sony has had um some decent
Mhm.
wins. Like No Way Home was like a huge win. That was like a grand slam, and they've had good stuff. This isn't it. Like this, whatever they've course corrected, and this movie I realize has been in the can 2 years,
2.
regardless of reshoots and whatnot. This was concepted years ago. So whatever Sony's doing now, they should keep doing that because it's working for them. And they're just forget this movie. I go back to that. Like, no, this didn't have like lift up the rugs and no, no. What more?
Yeah,
Morbius was that? I don't know what that is.
we don't talk about Morbius. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it could have been better. It could have been a lot better, but it existed.
I mean, I'm so curious now that you mentioned what
Hmm.
it was, an Espinosa cut. I'm very
Hmm.
curious if you put back the movie he wanted, I it probably would have been better. At least things would have made sense.
I think so.
Yeah. I bet not like hugely better. I'm not saying this would have become a
It'd
masterpiece.
have been like comp- could, actually understand what was going on at
You're not
least.
going from like Joe Dirt to Godfather, but you're gonna the movie would make sense.
Not the Joe Dirt.
I like Joe Dirt.
It was decent. It was better than this.
It kind of was.
You see? There you go. Sadness. But yeah, this could have just overall. You know what I was thinking? It would have probably worked if this was like a limited series.
Huh.
Because that way you can
Yeah.
explain Morbius, the relationship that he has with Milo, the poor girl as like the side love interest that really didn't get much to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, bumbling Tyrese everywhere. And then
Yeah.
you can like sprinkle in the other characters and it would have made sense.
I You know what I wanted? I'll just say this. I wanted Tyrese to kill Matt Smith.
Really?
I wanted him to figure out, like, I wanted him to go on this arc from like, I'm grounded in reality. I'm FBI man. These are straight up murders. I don't care if they're exsanguinated. There's some sick son of a bitch killing people and draining their blood, right? To, oh my god, vampires are real.
Mhm.
And then he takes a turn and he's the one who like takes Morbius's like anti-serum. Maybe he finds it, or maybe he confronts him before Morbius goes off to fight Matt Smith, and he takes the thing and he just kills him. Like, that would have been something. I think that would have been a much better ending scene, that is
Yeah.
like Tyrese that's and then maybe like Tyrese confronts Morbius. Morbius is like, I'm a vampire man now, and he flies off and he's like, I'll get you, Michael Morbius.
Vampire.
Yeah, yeah, it's like Tyrese is like throws his badge down. It's like, I'm a bounty hunter now or something.
And then boom, Blade.
Well, no, I mean, oh, well, yeah, no, no, he doesn't become Blade. I would just say he should become, because there was a black vampire hunter in Marvel. There was a whole bunch of Blade had these surrogate characters.
Mhm.
So I think there was a black guy too, huh? No, but he was human. Like, that's what you need. Or he could become Whistler, whatever. Like, just he is now like, he's like, no, fuck this guy. He murdered a whole bunch of cops or whatever. I don't give a shit. I'm hunting vampires. Like, that would have been cool.
That would have been different. I do like that one. But yeah, this wasn't what it was supposed to be. That's for sure. That's just
Yeah.
kind of sad. So, any other final thoughts on the Morbius?
No, I think
Hmm.
we picked through the corpse of this
Look.
enough. I think this I think this movie is well and truly cold and dead.
Oh gosh, is it better than those who? Wait, what was that movie that we hated? The one with
Oh,
Angelina
those
Jolie.
who wish me dead or
Yes, those who wish me dead.
yeah, I mean, it was about vampires, so yeah, I mean, just that movie. Oh my god, that movie. Ooh. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it was like, that movie was that's bad. This was bad for different reasons.
Hmm.
Like, there was nothing to that other movie, and like when you told me the book plot or whatever, it was like, why didn't they do that? Like, this sucked. Yeah, so yes, this was better than that. This wasn't good, but it suffered from other problems. That movie just sucked. Period. Like, there was nothing to save that.
I will. Have you seen 355?
No.
Okay, because I was like, what about that one? That was pretty awful. But yeah, you're really right about it. This kind of really sucked. It was pretty awful. Probably so far the worst movie of the year. So
Yeah,
that's that.
that's that, and it comes like they put it right before Sonic. It's like Sonic is just
Uh,
gonna just over. Like that's what I mean when I'm saying like this is gonna have such a huge drop off because Sonic comes out.
mhm,
This is gonna go right in the toilet in terms of box office revenue, and it's like
mhm.
Sony just write this off, just write this movie off. Forget it.
Sheesh. Unfortunate. Well, that seems to be everything. Like you said, the horse is dead. There's no meat left to go through. It's rotten.
No, it has no blood. I
It
checked.
has no. It has no blood. The bloodless horse. I'll just quickly say you can check all of my interviews with the cast of Morbius on the YouTube page, including my interview with Jared Leto and Matt Smith and the director.
Oh, very nice. I would say like I have no problem with the acting talent
Yeah,
in this
no.
movie. The
Mhm,
acting was fine. Jared Leto was great. Like I said, I like Matt Smith and all this stuff. Just they I would say it was a lot of executive meddling. That's who I'd blame. Like there was a lot of meddling because and then especially after No Way Home came out, there's a
mhm.
lot more meddling and it ruined this movie.
That is true. That's 1,000% true. So I guess I'll leave it there. They just they updated it. It's projected to make 40 million on opening weekend. So good luck to that.
Yeah.
Go see Sonic instead. So once again, I am your host Dana Abercrombie, and I was joined by Mr. Chris Seeley.
Hey, I appreciate it and if you want to talk about gaming and stuff, you can catch me on Throwdown every Thursday and Sunday night.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And we will come back later with something else that's hopefully better. Thank you all.
Not so cold and dead.
That's okay.